Hello, Christina. Okay, so
Hi,
this
how are you?
I'm good, thank you. So this is Christina, the Every 9 Minutes author, and yeah, I've invited you on my show because you do have a story to tell. Very
Yeah.
interesting story. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to getting to know you and to obviously hear more about your book and also about where you are today in your life. So yeah, I mean, what made you actually write the book? Where does the story
Oh,
stem from?
wow. That's a good question. I wrote it about 25 years ago. I didn't publish it until this year. So I sat on it for
No.
that long. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
And the
What was
book,
that then? What was stopping you?
back then, a few things. One, I don't know if I was really ready at the time. I got it all done. I looked at it and I said, okay, I want to go have this published.
Yeah.
But 25 years ago in publishing world, that's like a lifetime because back then you couldn't really you could self-publish, but it wasn't well known at all.
No.
So you had to go look for a publisher. And once I
Yeah.
was done writing, I quickly learned that you need to have something like that professionally edited. And
Okay.
at that time, I think my quote was about around $5,000 to have the book edited. And I didn't
Okay.
have a spare $5,000 hanging around to have a book edited.
Yeah.
We lived on what we lived on back then. So
Absolutely.
I thought I had left my career and I was with my husband. And I said, I don't want to become a workaholic again. So what if I create a business that's fun, that will allow me to work and make some money and then make enough money to raise that $5,000 to have the book edited.
Okay.
So I created a company called Monster Mini Golf back in
Yeah.
2004. I wrote the book in 2003. And we opened this really cool indoor monster themed blacklight mini golf venue in a small town in Northeast Connecticut, in obviously America.
Yeah.
Because you're in London. I realize, oh,
London, yeah.
and we opened that, and now almost 20 years later, we have 30 something locations. We franchised it. It
Oh,
consumes my
wow.
entire life. And then the pandemic happened.
Okay.
And when the pandemic happened, I think everybody had a chance to just sit down. I mean, they didn't have a choice. Everybody just was at home and sitting down.
Yeah.
And I had the time to pick the book back up, which I've done probably 3 or 4 times over the course of 20 years. But this time I really had the time. I
Yeah.
picked it back up. 20
Okay.
years later makes a big difference. So
Yeah.
I went page by page, rewrote pretty much the entire book. I edited it down, and I
Okay.
self-published on Amazon because you can now, and it's
Yeah.
wonderful. So
I know.
yeah, well, times have
Oh,
changed. Yeah.
what a story, though.
Yeah. So
Wow.
that's
I mean,
why.
and your business as well, such a successful business. I mean, do you still have that many golf places now?
Yeah. 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 We've got
Oh,
like
that's brilliant.
30 something in the United States. We have 2 flagship in Las Vegas, which is where I live now. And
Yeah.
then we have a couple in Canada.
Wow. Oh God, I have so many questions from that.
Yeah.
So, what is it then? So, in terms of your business sense, where do you think that stems from?
I think a lot of people who have been through abuse, no matter what kind of abuse it is, you
Mm,
end up with some kind of a vice.
yeah.
Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. Whether it's substance or not. Mine was work.
Okay.
I've
Yeah.
been a workaholic. I've been working since I was very young,
Yeah.
partly because I had to in order to live, and then it
Mm,
just becomes your thing.
yeah.
And I never did any drugs. I never did any alcohol because
Yeah.
I was always afraid of losing any kind of control. So that's my end of it is, oh no, I want to know what's going on every single second. And I want to be able to take care of myself. I don't want anybody being responsible for me because therefore I know what's going on. So that it
Mm.
just kind of snowballs.
It does, yeah.
Yeah.
And because obviously your book, Every 9 Minutes, it'd be good to find out more about that and your story, the story behind that, and why is it called Every 9 Minutes?
Yeah. So, God, when you write a book like this, I think I sat on it for weeks going, I don't even know what to call it anymore.
Yeah.
So I came up with Every 9 Minutes because here in America, anyway, every 9 minutes, there's a case of reported child abuse. So
Okay.
I went, oh, well, there you go. That's simple and it's kind of in your face,
That
but that's
is.
reported. So when you stop
Okay.
and say, holy cow, if you look at or talk to all the people that you know that have had some kind of abuse happen to them over the years, and we all know, unfortunately, probably more than one, and then you ask them, did you ever report it? I'll bet 80+% never did.
Yeah.
So
Well,
that's a
yeah.
statistic that we know of, I never reported it. So
No, I never either. Yeah. There
yeah,
you go.
yeah.
It's
Most of us
crazy.
don't for so many reasons. Yeah. So
Yeah.
that's kind of terrifying when you think about it,
It is
Yeah.
absolutely. Wow. And I think that's such a powerful title in that case.
Yeah.
Very
Yeah.
creative indeed. And absolutely. And I can totally resonate with, what you're saying, the fact that, for any child abuse survivor, obviously, we're suffering from complex PTSD. There's many different names to the condition now. But, with that comes addiction, like you said. And again, work is a positive addiction. Otherwise, you could have gone down the horrible route of drugs and alcohol, which I know a lot of survivors do go down. Homelessness. I've had quite a few guests on my show who have become homeless because of their abuse. So yeah, it's a common pattern. But I know that your childhood sexual abuse happened. Was it back in the late 1960s?
Yeah. My book spans 30 years. So it starts when I'm 4 years old, which is the mid 60s or late 60s, actually. And then I take you through to when I'm about 30 years old. Because I thought it was important to not just write about the abuse and the incidences, which some people will say, okay, this happened here. Or if somebody was raped, sometimes that one thing, it doesn't have to be a lot of them. It can be one, it can be anything. Everybody's so different.
Yeah.
But for the kids that went through it for an extended period of time. So mine started when I was 4 years old and continued until I left the house when I was almost 18. But it's not just about the actual abuse, which is its own craziness.
Yeah.
It's how that affects you over that span of your lifetime and to this day. So I wanted it to kind of be a combination of, yeah, these horrible things happen and those people are terrible, but here's how you try to cope with it all those years, and here's a result of that.
Okay. How did you actually start to deal with it? Because I know a lot of the abuse actually does go unnoticed for decades of our lives, for some people. And so what was the trigger? Was it the relationships that you were getting into, realizing that the men that you were choosing probably weren't the best for you? Yeah.
I never had any intention of telling anybody ever, because to me, you get to a certain point, you say, all right, I'm out of that house. You think that you're over it because, I don't know, because you think you are. And it's gone, which is a complete lie, but it's gone.
Yeah.
So I thought, okay, that person is also gone in my head, because when I get up and I left that house, that was that person that lived there. And then I didn't want anybody knowing I was doing anything wrong with me. But so as I got older, I was like, well, I never have to talk about it. Nobody will ever know. And my husband, who I'm married to now, when we first started dating, just looked at me one day and said, hey, what happened to you? And I was in my 30s, and I answered him. I don't know why I answered him, but I did. Actually, if you meet him, you know why you answer him. But he's just kind of like, why? So I answered him. And as soon as that door was open at, 30 something years old, it was raw. And it was new, and it was okay. Well, he said, and he asked so many questions, and it was really over the span, probably a guy. Yeah. And we had just started dating. And I think it all happened over the span of like 24 hours. We were going out one night and he said, hey, what happened? And 3 bottles of wine later.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, sometimes, it brings it out, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And that is such an important question that you've just you said that. What happened to you? And that's even a book that Oprah has actually written. I've got the audio actually. I was listening to that. What happened to you? Because it's so common for people to ask, what's wrong with you? Right. And what a guy. I feel like this man was probably sent to you. you know?
Yeah. He's definitely unique. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
twin flame, soulmate, whatever you want to call it. Are you still with him now?
Yeah. Yeah.
Ah,
Yeah.
I mean, you married the guy.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
We
I'm
got
so
married in
pleased.
97. I don't even know how many years that is anymore. I'm old now. Yeah.
That is amazing, right? And that was it. And it just all come out. And then what happened then? Did you seek therapy for?
I did at his request. I honestly didn't want to. I'm
Didn't
like, I'm
you?
done with it. I don't want to do it. And he said, well, you should. It's healthy. I said, oh,
Yeah.
okay. So I did. I went through the whole thing and it was good. But when I got done, and I remember my therapist at the time said, you're good. You're in a good place right now for,
Amazing.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I said, I think I want to write a book. His name was Richard. I said, I think I
Yeah.
want to write a book. And he said, really? So I sat down back then and I started writing. And my husband said he just saw the back of my head for like 6 months. I was just on a computer, typing and typing and typing. And when I got done, because I can only write like, okay, here's the beginning. And I just started writing until I was done, which means I included, I had a sandwich for lunch and, it's kind of craziness.
Right. Yeah.
So when I did get done, the book was like, God, it was like 680 pages. So
That's huge.
yeah, that's way too much and
Wow.
really boring in a lot of places. And that's the book that I wanted to have edited back then. I knew it needed to be edited.
Okay.
And, now 20 something years later, when I did sit down and you just start to dissect it and you're looking at it almost as a different person because you've grown so much too. And you're like, well, I don't need the sandwiches in there, and I had a very good editor at the end.
Okay.
And we just tore it apart and fine tuned it. Yeah.
Amazing. What a story. And I can just sense so much internal strength in you. Would you say that you're a tough cookie?
I am, but that's what my friends say too.
Yeah.
I am. And it's out of necessity, or just, I don't know, you just become that person.
That's amazing. And do you think that's been instilled into you from your upbringing?
Yes.
Yeah.
And not intentionally from my parents' upbringing, from, I think, self, taught when you're a little kid and you have to, my goal was get up in the morning and be the normal person.
Yeah.
Keep all that behind you. And how do you do all of that? So I learned to be very aware of everything all the time because you're like, okay, if that's happening, then I need to do this. That's, so you teach yourself all of those things at such an early age. I grew up thinking everybody was like that.
Okay.
I didn't even realize it probably until the last 10 years when I started to say, holy cow, that's me because of that. Not everybody is like this.
No, not at all. So many softies, so many weak people as well. And I guess, people come in all forms and sizes. And I guess as well, it's your strength that's probably enabled you to move on and to deal with things quite fast.
Yeah, you teach yourself as a child if you want to survive everything and be normal, because I didn't want anybody to know what was happening. Yeah. You just have to be very aware. Yeah. For a short time in my life, before I created Monster Mini Golf, in the same old venue, this was an old mill we built Monster Mini Golf in. I used to own an antique auction house. I had started this antique auction business and we were selling, cool things. But as an auctioneer, I remember being up there one day and you're looking at this audience of people who are bidding on things, and I could tell by their expressions and their mannerisms who was going to bid next and how much money I could get. And I remember it's such a weird, like you get these weird kind of moments. And I said, I know all of this because I taught myself this when I was a child. Okay. Is if that person's looking like that, then they're mad, or if that's so. I was like, wow, who knew? I actually remember the exact spot I was standing. I was standing up the podium. I'm like, holy cow, this is what I taught myself. Very profiling in a weird way, but yeah.
It is. That's a bit like NLP, how like you mirror and how to build
it was such a surreal kind of wow moment. I was like, okay, and then you keep doing what you're doing. But it's weird.
Yeah, it is. And I think you realize something about yourself, like you can read people.
It is so weird. Yeah.
Wow. And so what is it then? So what do you think is in you that's made you so successful from such a traumatizing past? You know,
I don't even have an answer for that. I don't know. I really, until I was, and I think a full-on adult, which is probably, till you get into your late 40s, early 50s, where you start to go, I think I know who I am.
yeah.
But every decade you think you're an adult. But
yeah, that's true. Actually,
you're like, oh, I'm an adult. You realize a decade later, no, I wasn't.
I was a kid back then. I'm an adult
I
now.
was a kid. I thought 30s was old. I knew what I was doing. Not a clue.
40s is the new 30s.
Yes. Yeah. I don't know. I think it's more out of just you do what you do to get to that next step.
Okay.
And I never thought about it.
Willpower.
Yeah, you're driven, and that's not always good because you never stop.
Yeah.
You do ruin relationships, many relationships that just, wonderful people. I was the problem. I just wanted to work,
Yeah, well, absolutely. And I totally resonate with that. And nothing else for me mattered. I was doing 76-hour weeks, and it seemed normal to me because, again, I realize now through all my therapy, my decade of therapy that I've been I realize now that it is actually a form of avoidance, and it is linked to, obviously, my traumatic past. So it is quite interesting when you start to realize, patterns of behavior. Whereas for me, it made me a success.
Exactly. Yeah.
Same with you.
Yeah. And it's weird that you kind of get, and not that you don't want to say that good came out of it because it sounds so terrible to say that. But there's a lot of things that I say, well, I'm this way because of that. And there's somebody that wanted to destroy me, but in fact made me a better person because of it, which is kind of weird. It's kind of like a haha, but nobody should go through that to get like this.
Oh my God.
Like, exactly. I don't know what the right answer is there, but yeah.
Absolutely. And so what kind of motivates you in this day and age now? Is it still work, or do you have other passions and other things that fulfill you?
Wow. That's a big question right now. Work is always, work comes natural to me. It has to be something challenging, to really motivate me. I will always get up and go to work. But now I think in my next, whatever this phase of life is, I'd like to do public speaking on this. I would like to do, I'm successful, and I have the ability, and I financially can take the time to do things where I can afford to do it. Like I can spend time, doing things where at the end of the day, I can't say, oh, I missed work that day and I need that money. So, now that's kind of cool. I think that's part of, success and being the age that I am.
Freedom. You got the
freedom. It is.
That's a big thing, isn't it, for us now? God, it's when you're having to do your 9 to 5 and then having to pay the bills, and you're just trapped in that rat race. And it's actually escaping away from that. I think that's what can bring a lot of people joy and fulfillment, and that's what a lot of people are now trying to aim for as well. You see all these influencers on Instagram, it's all happening now. Technology taking over, isn't it?
Sure is.
Wow. So what would be your advice then? Because this show is for domestic abuse and sexual abuse survivors, and what would be your kind of advice for those who may currently be struggling with what's happened to them?
I think it's a constant battle, and I know growing up, I don't know about you, but there's a lot of friends where you knew them and they might not have told you that something happened to them, but you look at them and say, oh, we got that same thing. And you see a difference because the people who became, I guess, like the workaholics or got successful because you use that energy to drive it there, where the other side, it consumes them and it brings them down. So there's the drugs and the alcohol and the homelessness and so many things. My biggest thing that kept me going was I thought that if I became a person that lost control, and that's not always good, but lost control or became that drug abuser or whatever, that means that he won. And I didn't want him to win.
No.
but that was me. And everybody's very, very different, you know. I spent a part of my life, and it's part of the memoir, managing an adult entertainment facility.
Okay.
And the time that I spent there was probably the biggest eye opener of my life, because I was surrounded by women just like me, like a very, very large percentage of those girls. And you got to see every, like, here's one, and this is, you know, what she's dealing with, and this is what she's dealing with. And this was one rape case. And this was, you know, it was insanity.
Yeah.
And because of them, I came out of that going, wow, I'm going to get past this, you know. And, but everybody doesn't get that, you know. Everybody doesn't go through that little tunnel in life. But yeah,
because you mentioned about sexual exploitation, like your experiences of that. I guess it was here where you were working.
Yeah, it was. There's like, you have to actually read that part of the book, because I couldn't put it into a few sentences. The lesson that those girls taught me was probably some of the most valuable things I've learned in my life. Many lessons from that group of girls. Yeah.
Oh wow.
And that environment in general. Yeah.
It's quite seedy, quite toxic.
It's very, very educational. And I went through it with that same mindset. I was just a workaholic. So to me, it was just, you just put me in a different place, and I was doing the same job, but, you know, still no drinking, no drugs, nothing. Everybody around you is complete chaos. You know? I was just managing a business, you know.
It's amazing how you kept off all of that.
Yeah, and that's, I think, sometimes too driven. You know, your blinders are on.
Yeah. Wow, willpower. To me, that's strength. That's willpower. I think that's amazing, because, you know, so many people who have gone through that, they're sober now, and life's gone so much better. It's so much more fulfilled.
Yeah.
Do you ever have dark days now? Does a trauma ever come back to haunt you? Yeah.
Of course. Yeah.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah. And not days, I would say. You know what's weird? There's certain noises. I know it sounds really, really odd. So all of us have our things, you know, but there's certain noises that will snap you right back into a scene or incident. And I have those, but I know what they are, you know, and I'm like, okay, walk through that noise, you know, keep going. I think the most, I guess, I don't know if it's a good answer or a bad answer. Time, the older you get, it's not that it gets any easier to deal with. In fact, sometimes it gets harder. I think as you get older, you get more educated, you get sometimes angrier, but you know, hey, I just got triggered. I know how to deal with it now. Yeah. Where when you're younger, it's just too much coming at you, because life is also happening and you're not experienced enough on life.
Not ready. So it's basically having that self-awareness, being aware. And that comes with knowledge and education, and hence why, you know, I've released this podcast, because I'm hoping it will help listeners to gain that knowledge. That, you know, that you're not alone, and the fact that, you know, whatever you're going through now, a lot of survivors have gone through it already, or are currently going through that. And what would be your piece of advice for these people who may be struggling?
I think actually you hit the nail on the head. We have so many things at our disposal, podcasts, anything there's so much at our disposal that didn't exist when I was young. And actually when I was young, God forbid you even mention the subject. So now I think part of it is due to a lot of celebrities have brought it out. And I think there's good and bad, not good and bad, but there's plus and minuses to that. So I think that, yes, you should always speak about it. You should always talk about it. You should always say something. That's not enough people do. But I think that's important, but I think it's just as important or more important for us regular folk to talk about it and bring it out, so that when you and I are speaking, the person who's sitting at home just stuck with it in their heads can say, you know what, they're like me, they're normal, and they've gotten through that, or they're dealing with it, opposed to this, you know, A-list celebrity who's got everything at their fingertips. It's hard to relate to that person. So you can say, of course they did, you know, of course they're okay, they got $1 billion and they're fine.
Yeah,
And that's good. Again, they shouldn't not talk about it, but I think
yeah.
it's better when you can relate to somebody like you.
Yeah.
They made it, you know.
So true. Oh wow, yeah, you hit the nail on the head there as well. I think that's really important, because we're just ordinary people,
Yeah.
working, trying to make a living, but yeah, we're also survivors. And in my case, I had a lot of depression through my life, so overcoming that without drugs for me, has been quite a victory. But like you said, we all have dark days and triggers, and especially now in the UK now, it's the autumn blues, and so many people are feeling a bit meh, a lot of sadness, a lot of lack of motivation and stuff at the moment. So is it the same where you are, or what's the weather like there?
Well, in Vegas, we're coming into the fall, but now it's not 120 degrees. It's beautiful.
Oh.
So we're like, yes. But the exact opposite. But I travel a lot too. Yeah.
Oh, do you? Of course, yeah.
In my spare time, which is a very odd, one of our venues in Las Vegas, we have two flagship locations and casinos in Las Vegas. So they're co-branded. One is with the Twilight Zone. So it's all black and white, black light mini golf. And the other one is with the rock band Kiss. So, yes. So somehow when we were building our Kiss location, and we had to get a license, and you go through the contracts and all that kind of stuff. When we actually went to meet Paul and Gene from Kiss, I got along with Gene. I get along with him great business-wise. We're very, very much like-minded. We have the same ethics.
Nice.
So over time, we've just done a lot of things together. So one thing led to another back in, I think, 2014. And he said, hey, can you handle my backstage bass experiences? Okay. So the last 8 years, my husband and myself have been traveling on and off with Kiss in between our real life, which is our actual business. With Kiss is on tour, we're back. We come back and forth a lot based on volume of Gene's backstage business, and we handle that for him as well. So that's its own education right there. It's kind of crazy.
I know, right? Oh, wow. Oh, that's immense. So, and how do people find you then? In terms of the golfing business, do people have to book in and come and play?
Yeah, they could do either way. So it's monsterminigolf.com is our web address. So they could book mini golf online. So you can just go online and reserve your tee time, or you can walk in. We have arcade games like laser tag, bowling, and some obviously party rooms. So we do corporate events, kid parties, all kinds of stuff.
Oh, that's amazing. And then obviously your book, that's available on Amazon, like you said.
Yeah. And everything on Amazon, yes.
Yeah. Oh, excellent. Is it on audio yet, or?
I am doing my own audio, so in between everything else. So I'm hoping to have it done by Christmas or before Christmas. So yeah, that's a big project.
Yeah. Oh, that'd be amazing. That. And how many pages is it now?
Oh, 370.
Oh, okay. Right. Yeah.
It's manageable.
That's good.
Yeah. Much better.
Exactly.
Not War and Peace anymore. Yeah.
Of course. So yeah, I'll obviously add all the links on the description here for your listeners if you are interested in every 9 minutes, or even trying out one of the golfing ranges. And I guess it's just in the States at the moment, right? You're
and golfing. 2 in Canada, but not in the UK. In the UK, mini golf is very popular. Lots of indoor mini golf there. Yeah,
there's a lot here, isn't there? Oh wow, I just think it's so good for the mind.
It is. It's fun. Anybody can play. It's inexpensive.
Absolutely, yeah. Oh, I just think it's fantastic. God, you've done so well. Really, you must be really proud of yourself. I'm actually proud of you. It's like just like how far you've come. I think it's amazing. Oh wow. And so how about another book will you be writing again?
I don't know. Everybody asks that. I'm not sure. To me right now, it's really important because I have so little time. So I'm waiting for like some things to end so I can have more time.
Yeah.
But I really want to focus on this and doing something that others can benefit from. Can I do public speaking? Can I just get the subject out there more? So I need to accomplish that before I start thinking about anything else. Yeah, it's important to
Absolutely.
me.
Oh, I love that. Yeah. And it will. And, you know, I think, like you said, when you're so busy, it's just kind of having that empty headspace to be able to focus.
Yeah,
And yeah, I get that totally. And I
yeah.
guess, do you have kids as well?
No, no kids.
Oh,
No, never.
oh
Yeah. And it's for people, when I was younger, they would always ask. That's one of the things, and I think a lot of folks that have been through this, some don't have, you don't have kids, and that was a choice.
yeah,
I've never wanted to be a mom ever.
that's
Um,
interesting. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
part of it is, I'm sure a lot of it is obviously my upbringing. And the
Mm,
other part, I think, is that I never felt that there was any way that I could guarantee safety. And that's an issue with me.
that
And I couldn't take the
is.
risk. And that's wrong. I mean, that's not a good answer. It's not the right answer, but there was no way in the world I was going to bring a child.
I totally, yeah, I can
You have
really
kids?
relate with that. Yeah, well, I have
Yeah.
a 3 year old, so I've gone through all these
Oh,
emotions about not feeling safe,
yeah.
about, you know, thinking that I'm putting him at risk. Oh, absolutely. And it led to postnatal depression. So
Yeah.
yeah, I've been through it all.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I can't
And
even
it is.
imagine. I can't. I think that a good mom is probably the hardest job in the world.
It
There is
is.
nothing harder than
Extreme.
being a good mom. A good mom, because there's a big difference between a mom and a good
Yeah.
mom. But it is. It's such a, especially in this day and
Wow.
age. So hats off to you, man.
Oh, goodness. Yeah, it is. It's a challenge
Breathe.
every day. Breathe. Yeah. You're, you'll be giving me advice now. Thank you.
We have 2 one-year-old bulldog puppies, and they're
Oh,
like, I feel like we have raptors in our house. They're I'm like, oh my God, I can't do this.
oh, bless. Hey,
Yes.
but we have dog sitters, we have babysitters, we have some, and then yeah, I guess that could be just as stressful if you don't get the right person as well. So
Yeah.
trust is huge, isn't it?
Mhm. Mhm.
Because you must have loads of workers that you're having to trust.
I do. We have loads of workers that we have to. We have franchisees. So it's, if people say, do you have any children? We don't, but, and who knew? I mean, I never knew it when we started this, because my intention wasn't to have a million, locations and franchisees, but it's like having, 25 perpetual teenagers. That's what it's like.
That really is, yeah. And so I suppose when it comes to having to trust and not letting that all that responsibility take over your life, what do you do? Like, what's your mindset training for that?
That took me a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I failed the first 7 years, and then finally went, I gotta figure this out.
Wow.
Yeah,
Okay. Because it's you have to really work on yourself, don't you?
you do. You really, really do. And sometimes you
Control.
have to walk away from it and let it fail.
Yeah.
Like, let
Oh,
whatever it is fail and say, okay, now
okay.
next time we can't let this happen. But yeah, that's hard.
It is. It is. Control. Yeah.
Yeah. It's just such a hard balance.
It is, yeah. And because Tony Robbins, I've been a bit of a preacher of his
Yeah.
in the past few years or so, and he obviously owns like 25 businesses or what have you, and he says that if he worried about all of his businesses, that his life wouldn't even be worth living. So what he does now is, if something's happened and if something stressful's happened, he'll literally spend like a minute and a half maximum stressing out about it, and that's it. Because otherwise it will only eat you up. And again, that's mindset, right? Mindset training.
Yeah.
Having that strength, which you've got, girl.
Now.
Okay.
Now I do.
Yeah.
You go through all of those, just different channels of learning that. And you either, it's always a choice. You either let it consume you, or you say, I'm going to tackle it. And sometimes the tackle lasts a very long time.
Yeah.
But when you get to the end and you're like, yes. And there's another one right behind it, but that's okay. Okay.
And I've actually done a talk with a doctor on this about burnout and resilience. The fact that you need that resilience. We need it, and and that comes with strength, which is exactly what you have. So, and I think in terms of your public speaking, definitely you need to talk about this, girl. You need to talk about.
I would love to do that. Yeah. So that's I have to find time. So my time management is terrible right now. It's failing.
Oh no. Coach, do you not have a coach?
No.
Oh.
I don't. I'd probably be bad at that too. I would not work well with that.
I suppose it is like scheduling it all in, and I understand that. God, managing the diary. Yeah. But I suppose, this is why you have your PR, right?
Exactly. That I do. She's fantastic. Yes.
Yeah, she is. Jane, isn't it? I think. Jane.
Yep, Jane. Yeah. Jane's awesome.
Hi, Jane. We love you.
Wonderful.
Oh, wow. No, thank you so much, Christina. It's been an absolute honor to have you on my show and for you to share your inspiration with us all. And, I think it's amazing what you've done with your book. And the fact that you wrote it 25 years ago, that's just immense. And just again, congratulations on the success of your golfing ranges. I just think, wow, I keep calling it golfing ranges, it's mini golf. You just keep saying mini golf. Golf. Golf, yeah. And so absolutely, if anybody wants to get in touch with Christina, then I will add her links in my profile and descriptions. If you have any questions to ask on the mindset, on the strength that she has, which I am so inspired by, and I feel like it's actually rubbed off onto me as well. Oh, brilliant. Thank you so much. So any last words, Christina, before we end?
No, you can always find me on any of the social media platforms too. So if anybody wants to reach out or has any questions directly, it's 123 Christina V. Like my last name is Vitagliano. So if any of the platforms, you'll find me there with that same handle.
Oh, lovely. Brilliant. And I'll add that as well.
Thank you.
Absolutely. It's a pleasure.
Thanks so much for your time. You were wonderful.
Oh, you are as well. Thank you. It's been an honor. It's been really fun. And I really love your energy. And I just think you're a breath of fresh air to a lot of survivors. The fact that, we don't need to suffer in silence. We don't need to suffer, throughout our adulthood. We can seek help and we can start to communicate more and to express ourselves more and to realize that whatever's happening to us, it's normal for survivors.
Yeah, this is hard. This is not an army of one situation. This needs to be an army that's screaming and yelling. So
an army of survivors.
Yep,
sure. Oh, lovely. And on that note, thank you everyone. Thanks for listening and watching if it's on YouTube. And I look forward to the next episode. In the meantime, please do rate, review, and get in touch with us if you need us. We're here for you, girls and boys.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Love you all. All right.
Yeah. Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye-bye.